Please welcome Richard Vaughton, founder at Yes Consulting, Pablo Zubicaray, CEO at Ola Living Yello Living, Steve Milo, CEO at Vtrips, Andreea Petrisor, Chief Growth Officer at GuestReady, moderator Mike Ortegon, Vacancy Rental Expert, about top advices for PMs who want to sell portfolio valuation.
Well, thank you everybody for staying around. We're really going to try to jazz this up a little bit and get some insight. But just think of something. Today's topic is about value. Value, the importance, worth, or usefulness of something. And that's sort of how the mind frame we're going to go to today. Like, what's important? And the topic is about how do I create value? And you've heard a lot of different topics today in the last couple of days. You hear things like, and I'm a very big optimist, by the way. I think there's still great things to happen. We'll have some tough times, perhaps, but resilience, flexibility. We heard the two big OTAs talk about the things that they're doing. We hear a lot of property managers, and we talked a lot the last couple of days about the things they're doing. And so you want to hear from these experts today about what is it and how you can drive value in your business, right? There's probably three things. There's people, process, and technology. And I think you've heard a little bit about that in the last couple of days as well. And that's what we'll try to cover today. So I'll be quiet now, and we'll do some introductions. And we'll start right over here. Just a quick introduction, a little bit about yourself, and then we'll go.
Okay, I'm Pablo Zubicaray. I created a company in 2003 with the name Friendly Rentals. And we, at the end of the sale, we fully manage about 780 properties. And then we have about 2,500 other properties that we just make reservations for. I sold the company in 2016, and in 2020 I opened two other companies. One is called Ola Living, which does touristic apartments, corporate apartments, and residential co-living. And then there is another company called Yello Living that we do larger projects of co-living, which means that build a community and layers of services around these co-livings.
Thank you, Pablo.
Steve Milo, I'm the CEO and founder of Vtrips. We have 7,000 exclusive properties under management, and we've done 30 mergers and acquisitions over the last several years.
Thank you, Steve. Andreea?
Mm-hmm. Hi, everyone. I'm Andreea Petrisor. I'm the new Chief Growth Officer of GuestReady. Just a few words about myself. Really excited to be here. This is actually my second conference and the first panel that I'm attending, so I apologize in advance if the nerves come through. About GuestReady, we're property management present in 7 countries now. We manage a portfolio of almost 4,000 properties. And besides the full property management, we also have a very good software, our PMS, that we provide to the market together with client communication.
Thank you, Andreea.
Yeah, good afternoon. Sorry if my voice is a bit raw. It was a good night.
Honesty and transparency. Thank you, Richard.
Yeah, Richard Vaughton, Yes Consulting, which is a small consulting company. I'm also a founder and director of a technology company. But in the context of this conversation, I've founded and sold rental businesses, and I've been involved in a number of recent sales of rental businesses as well, and currently 2 ongoing.
Great. Well, you could have found a better panel to talk about buying and selling and understanding the ins and outs. So we're going to start with a little bit of a story first from each of you. So I'd like to sort of ask you, tell me about your favorite deal or most interesting deal. Not so much about the money, because we know that's part of it. What made it interesting and why you did it? Win or loss, or good or bad? It doesn't have to be in this industry, but it might be interesting to start with a story, Pablo.
Well, I think it will be something that we're doing right now. And thinking, what can you do that is not just about money? What can you do to society? What you can do? Within the co-living space, within Yello Living, we have 2 verticals. One is the vertical where we build a community around the well-being, which is targeted to corporate apartments, so corporate people, nomads, so on and so forth. There's nothing there. But through this process, we realized that how can we apply all this knowledge and all these riches that we've done to something different? So we're building also a social co-living, and we're working with the municipality of Barcelona and the municipality of Malaga to build a co-living for families in need, so families that in distress, that have lost their houses. And we have found that actually the municipalities have a big budget to place all these people, but they don't have the capacity of the housing necessary in order to cover it. So some of these people are placed in hostels, even in hotels, in houses, and they're not instructed on a way or giving the opportunity to go back to society. So what happens is they spend years and years into this process and being placed in places that there is nothing to give. So what we're trying to get together, and this is still in conversations with these 2 municipalities, but it's a co-living in which the activities will go around having workshop of carpentry, electricity, enter into the new digital era, how to build your curriculum. There will be place to keep your children to stay while you learn all those things. There will be a nutritional value that they eat on their meals. They will not be eating pizza and hamburgers. They will eat nutritional value. Because I think when you have a proper environment and the proper nutrition value, your mind works differently. So we want to put these people back into society quickly enough. So we're talking to foundations and corporations that will hire these people. So we shorten this process of these people being displaced, if you want. So far, the conversation is going very well. It's a complicated process because what we're asking the municipalities is to give it a concession for the land. We will build the buildings, and then they will have to be the master tenants of these places. So, but it's something that we done from the heart, and it actually is financially viable, so it means that can be repeated. And let's see if we can actually make it happen.
Fantastic, great story, great story. Steve.
Yeah, so we were in the process of buying a company up in Gatlinburg, Smoky Mountains, and a week before closing, there was a wildfire that burned up 20% of the inventory.
Ouch.
And so we had to work with the seller, who was kind of an honor system. They had to go through the properties and tell us which ones had burned down and which ones didn't. And we worked with them, renegotiated some of the deal, and we closed 30 days after that fire, but it was crazy.
Great story, great story. Andrea?
So on my side, so far we've done 7 acquisitions to date. Some of them were for technology, some of them were large players like B&B Lord or TPC, where we literally joined forces and the leadership teams. However, I think if I am to choose one example that had a very strong impression on me, was a recent acquisition that we've done on the west coast of France. We actually acquired a property management company of about 100 properties and so. The main rationale behind was because the person really wanted to join our company. Like, he saw this as an exciting opportunity to grow the business. He was this very young talent, so he got to the point where it became quite complex for him to develop on his own. So he chose to join us, and now he's part of the team. He delegated some of the operations part, and he's really focusing on growing the region. And it's very nice to see talented people, very passionate, and looking into ways to drive their business
Great story, great story. Richard?
Yeah, I've been fortunate to sit here thinking about it. And it's not just rentals. So in a previous life, I bought and sold biotechnology companies as part of my life. But also, this carries over into rentals. In doing these things, I've come across great people. And it's really, really clear that each of these companies that became successful, that were started, grew, were sold, it was entirely about the people. So the highlight for me is I've met some really fantastic people who have been really good at what they do, and they've made the businesses.
That's fantastic. So just for the record, I showed these guys this question just before we came up, and poor Richard didn't get to see it. So that's so thank you for that. But here's the thing: it's about people, right? So this will lead to the next question about why is culture and leadership important? We talked about this the other day. Steve, I'll start with you. Why is that so important about how I start to build the value of my company if I'm ready to sell or want to sell?
Well, I mean, if you're looking to maximize your sale, culture becomes important because one of the things that you can control is your profitability. And that starts with driving those processes from leadership down. So having financial accounting, monthly statements, variance reporting, that allows you to understand where you're missing and where you're exceeding your goals. And then ultimately what you should be doing is compensating your staff, bonusing them on where they're making improvements. So that's, we've looked at a lot of businesses, and we actually see businesses that are really optimized and it's almost always because of the leadership that they just drove the company with financial discipline.
Great, perfect. Andrea.
So for me as well, I think culture is extremely important. Yes, when you acquire a business, you look a lot at, the size of the portfolio, the location, the quality, the processes, etc. But one of the elements which is really important is the team. Is the team staying? Is the team leaving? How strong is the team? How likely are they to actually integrate into your team? In some cases, of course, the owners choose to stay for a while, assure continuity, and afterwards leave. But in many cases, they go on. And when they go on, it's no longer a matter of only acquisition, it becomes a matter of integration. And then we all know that integrating cultures, it's quite a challenging element. And in many M&As, actually I think 70% of M&As sometimes fail because of the culture. So it's really important to make sure that everybody is on board and sort of shares your values. And with us, actually, we have a very strong set of values as well, which we all kind of breathe through. And it's all about teamwork and empowerment and appreciating and treating each other the way we want to be treated and simply driving things through. And when we look at companies, we look at people who can become part of this culture.
Fantastic. Anything else to add, Richard?
Yeah, well, this people thing, you can't put round pegs in square holes or square pegs in round holes. And I think if you look at what's happened in terms of employment over the recent years as well, once upon a time, I didn't really believe in metricized employment for evaluation of people, but it's become really clear these days that you can do this really, really well. And you will find operational people who don't want to go anywhere near sales, for example. So if you put all these people in the right places and you give them the right training, the right expertise, and bleed them into this culture, the word culture starts with the word cult. Interestingly, if everybody speaks with the same voice, then you can actually drive businesses forward, and you don't have to do it yourself. It's always good to have people who can do it for you.
That's
They
right.
need guidance is great, but
Totally agree. Anything else to add, Pablo?
Well, I think I would look at it from a different perspective because I only make one acquisition in my life, and these people here make a lot of acquisitions. So I would be looking more for what do you do when you want to sell, And for me, I think the most important thing that I would recommend is patience. Because it's a long process. If you've never been in the process, it's long, it's tedious, it's a roller coaster of up and down, so the deal can fall or not, so you have to be patient. But then you need to be very organized. You need to be very organized, you need to have your KPIs very well. You need to be able to have the story of your company in 20 minutes, a very compelling story. You need to be able to express the culture of your company and be able to transmit that to the possible buyers.
This is a good transition, actually. Sorry, go ahead. I'll let you finish.
So, and then you need to be streamlined. You need to be streamlined. You need to be, that you're going to be acquired, so you're going to be looked in so many different ways. So if you're selling growth, you need to obviously be able to show this growth and how you're going to achieve it. If you're selling EBITDA, you need to be able to have the maximum EBITDA by the time and there is many ways to do that.
I love it. Look, well, we didn't script this, actually. So now we're on to process a little bit. So just elaborate a little bit more on process, and we'll come back and talk about process a little bit as well. But a little bit more about
it's just what I was saying. No, you know your company better than anybody else. So you need to be able to transmit what you know, and if your culture is whatever it is, you need to be able to express that to your buyers and have your numbers very, very, very well made and be able to transmit that in a very quick way. I would say I think that's what I was already saying before.
Perfect. Steve, you asked a question yesterday to the audience. How many have how many do budgeting and how many know your P&L? So
well, one thing I could advise if there's areas that you're not strong in, there are brokers out there, and they will work to sell your business for a fee anywhere from 1% to 5%, somewhat negotiated based on the size of the transaction. The other thing is, if you are looking to sell your business, and even if you're not, I would strongly urge you to put all of your records in a digital format like Dropbox. Every lease, your insurance policies, your owner contracts, every single thing that would be required to sell your business, because when you sell your business, there's going to be a huge schedule of assets that you're selling, and some of these owners we've encountered are completely unprepared, and their data is everywhere. So start now; it'll save you later.
Fantastic advice.
So in addition to what was already said, with which I fully agree, I would say in terms of process, whenever we do an acquisition, we don't look at it as a separate entity far away. We look at the way it can integrate with us. So that's why it becomes very important if it's a strategic acquisition, meaning maybe where we want to get access to a new geography, or maybe we want to get access to new technology or grow the team, as mentioned before. And I think part of the process is, besides looking at all these elements, it's also how does the reglementation impact the region specifically. So we need to be aware of that. We need to be aware of the financials, like it was mentioned before. Many times we look at the top line, that's great, but how strong are the operations that built that business? How strong are the processes that are put in place? How strong are the contracts? What type of contracts are there? There are many other things that we dive in, definitely.
Perfect.
Yeah, it's really interesting. I was trying to think of an analogy when Steve was talking about that, because having all your ducks in a row and all the data in place and all the information, it's a bit like buying a jigsaw. You can give somebody a jigsaw which is perfectly formed and it's a beautiful picture, or you can give them a box of bits and say, this is what I'm selling you. You don't actually know what you're buying, but you know what you're buying if you've got this beautiful picture. But on top of that, that beautiful picture can be made more beautiful because you're doing a whole raft of other things on top of the data. And as Andrea said, getting all your contracts in order, making sure your employment contracts are in order, getting your standard operating procedures there, ensuring you know what your cost of acquisition of customers is, and all that stuff. If you can go to the table and say, this is a perfectly formed company, do you want to take it off the table? You've done all the hard work, and you have to do the hard work to actually make it successful.
And you'll get paid a premium if you're organized. If you're unorganized, chances are, you know, you're not going to get the valuation you should, because we're going to come in and factor in that this is going to be a messy deal, and we're going to come in with a lower offer.
Yeah, thank you. I was just going to ask now, tell me the value of that. That's great sense and great insight. Anything else, anybody?
I just add to Steve. So people use PMSs. And PMSs are always not very good at generating the data.
So, you know, we talked about this yesterday. I mean, the hosted system you're on, some hosted systems we know are a nightmare of pulling information. And as I've said before, any deal we do, we have to do a quality of earnings. And so access to that system is critical. And, you know, believe it or not, there's systems where after the month close, changes can still be made, which is like just the biggest no-no ever, because they're just not set up properly. So, you know, you've got to really think about the technology stack you're on if you're looking to sell, because some of the more robust systems are much better if you want to sell.
Yeah, you've got to have free download of all your data from any PMS at any point in time. Always remember that.
Well, we create a matrix, and people will get a plus or a minus depending on the system they're in. So if you're on a bad system, you know, it's going to be a minus because it's going to be a nightmare to integrate.
So Steve, you want to publish that?
I would. I mean, you know, there's systems in the U.S. That have been very, very difficult. I mean, we particularly some of the more esoteric stuff. So it's definitely something that we will discount a purchase if depending on the system they're on, or if they're on a system, particularly if they're on our system, that's going to be a check in the other direction.
Can I just say again, we didn't practice this right.
What
We went
system are
from
you on?
people to process to technology right away. You don't even need me up here, so just keep going because this is really good. So just keep talking about the technology, and then sort of put the twist on like, how does it increase my value? Great, input. Like it adds a plus or a minus, right? And so that's super important. You probably won't add anything into this.
Well, I've never bought companies, so I couldn't add to that. Obviously, the operating systems and picking up the conversation that they were having, both of them yesterday, about having a PMS or having your engineers building your own. You know, I used to have my own. Never again.
Would you? Yeah, I was going to
Never
say
again.
Yeah.
Never again.
It's about focusing on your core.
Obviously, when I started, it was 2003. There was nothing on the market, and it makes sense. There was no other way to do it. I mean, they didn't exist.
Yeah.
Or they were very, very, very limited. So we did it that way, and thankfully, we can scale our business to the point that it makes sense to have it. But the reality is that you can never compete with the companies that are building new technology. Your technology gets old, your software gets old, your language that is written gets old. You cannot be changing all the time, and they have to. So for me, it's a very clear, outsource it, find the best one. Yep. Know which one Steve is on. So if you want to sell the company to him to get higher valuation.
It's not in the European market.
But again, I mean, it's not an easy task to get the one that fits your needs, because there is many different PMSs out there. I don't think there is one that has everything that everybody needs, because it's impossible, because we all have different needs.
What's your
but you need to do some good research to see what you're going to be operating on.
Great. Love that counter-argument. This is good.
Counter-argument example. We have our own. We have our own technology, and it actually started the other way around. So initially, it was developed to support our needs and our processes, and we literally started from the ground, doing ourselves the cleaning, doing everything. So really fought with the different challenges that are in the market. Developed our own software. Yes, I fully agree. There are a lot of resources involved. There are a lot of the tech companies is quite big as well. And the most important thing, though, is that the tech company is being fed all the different blockers that we face on the ground, and they're able to take it up and adjust very fast. So this gives us a lot of flexibility, and this is also one of the reasons why we started spreading the solution on the market as well, because it was feeding other needs also.
Okay.
So the opposite.
Okay.
Yeah, let's move a little off PMSs now. I think PMS is just one of those annoying subjects we could talk about forever. And so I'm desperate to know how much you sold friendly rentals for as a multiple of your EBITDA. Is that a hand grenade moment?
I think it was a clause there that doesn't allow me to say.
It's turning red now.
So I've been saying to a lot of people in the last 2 days, I've been going to conferences for a whole lifetime, it feels like. I've never been in a conference where people have actually started talking about multiples. Acquisition of properties. I've never been in conferences where people have talked, or had somebody like Steve sitting there talking like this. So I'm pretty sure.
There you go.
I guess that depends where you are or who is your buyer, and what are you bringing to them. Yeah. Is it just another addition to their portfolio, or you're on a strategic purchase? Are you adding value to this company to something other direction that they're going? Are you finding that kind of a buyer, or you just bringing somebody that is going to be the typical multiple that is in the industry? So if you find a partner that needs you because he's entering a different market that he doesn't know, that's an additional value that can change the multiples. Or if you're a growth company, obviously, then everything can happen.
Well, I just turned down a deal this morning because the seller, just had an expectation that wasn't aligned. Sometimes people get caught up in the multiple, and it's not always about the multiple, it's about the deal flow. So you can get a high multiple, but if somebody gives you a bad earnout, you may not ever realize the full amount. And what an earnout is, just for those who don't understand this, is, probably you as a seller want 100% of the money up front. Now that's never going to happen.
That's right.
We're gonna hold a portion
back.
back.
You have to work for it.
And you're going to have to earn out based on, performing, and you're going to want to earn out as short of a period as possible to get your money back. And so, some of these deals may have you earning out for 3 years. I've heard of 5. Well, once you sell your company, you're not going to be in control of a lot of things, and you may literally miss your earnout. And even though that number looked high on the top line, because of the earnout scenarios, you may actually net less. So just be careful, like, I have to have a 7, or, This is nonsense talk. You need to have an open mind, go out and talk to as many buyers as possible, take a look at their offers, and see which one matches up best for you, including how they're going to treat your employees.
We're down about a minute or so. Quick speed round. What do you think scares an investor? Someone. What do you think would scare you?
I think unsustainable operations.
Okay. All right. Great. Richard.
Really crap margins.
Crap margins. Okay. Technical term. Crap margins. That's good. Okay. Steve.
A lack of key employees. Everything is, the owner is a control freak, and the employees are so reliant on that owner, you're not sure if once that owner's gone, whether they're going to be able to operate the business.
Pablo?
not having clarity, not feeling the honesty,
Focus, transparency.
transparency.
Look, it's people. Talked a lot about people today and process and technology. I think you guys covered all extremely well. So the last 25 seconds here. Favorite type of holiday? See, ski, adventure, or chill out?
See.
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 See for me as well.
Adventure.
Adventure.
I live by the sea and it's sea.
And it's C. All right. 9 seconds left. Thank you very much, panel. You've been excellent. Appreciate it all. And thank you all.